So now you're homeschooling, you have all the things, but how are you going to organize all this stuff? You've got curriculum, you've got supplies, maybe you have a room, maybe you don't. In today's video, I'm not only going to show you some of what I do, but I'm going to give you a 5-step strategy with some baby steps in between to show you how to do this. I'm even going to tell you my favorite places for getting all the cute things to help you organize this, because my favorite place delivers every time. And I'm going to throw in a bonus tip, because your space isn't my space. Your needs are not my needs. So while I can show you everything that I've done with the space that I have, how are you going to translate that back into your space? Well, this is a formula that you can use no matter what you are organizing. In fact, I really need to organize my kitchen pantry soon, and I guarantee you I will be doing these same steps for that. So no matter what I'm organizing, this is the secret sauce. My struggle now with organization is I have a family and I can organize perfectly, but unless they learn the system and I am on top of them to keep doing it, it's going to get out of place. So yeah, if I lived by myself, my space would be perfectly organized all the time. So tip number 1, you've got to sort. You've got to sort all of your stuff. In fact, if you can, I would recommend cleaning out all the spaces, like getting all of your stuff into one space so you can really sort through it. As I'm sorting, I place things into piles, and if the things that you're sorting are too big for piles, I use laundry baskets, I use cardboard boxes, I use very large bags. Anything that I can do to group things together as I'm sorting through it. Your groups may be different than my groups, but I'll give you some examples. When I was organizing this room for this school year, some of the groups that I was using. I had a pile for all the curriculum that I was going to use per child. I had a pile for extra work like math drills or, supplemental type things. They weren't necessarily part of a curriculum and I don't necessarily use them every day, but I want to have them on hand. I had a separate pile for special days. So if I had printouts for back to school or printouts for Christmas or 100 days of school or Thanksgiving, just those sorts of special days, I had those in a separate pile. A pile for strictly paper, notebook paper, spiral notebooks, blank paper, even paper that may have typing on one side or writing on one side but is blank on the other side. I keep that, and I will show you what I keep that for. So that is also in its own pile. I call that the scrap paper. A pile for the writing supplies, a pile for the teacher supplies, a pile for curriculum that I'm not going to use this year, but maybe in a future year. So a pile for binders and pencil cases and the kind of organizational type containers, because I empty all of those things out. We start from a clean slate, but first I need to sort it. Books, etc., etc., etc. So those are my piles. I had a pile for things that I'm going to try to sell. So if you want to try to sell things on eBay or Facebook groups or a garage sale or just donate it, there were separate piles for all of those things. And of course, my biggest asset of all, the garbage can. Love, love, love throwing things away in the garbage can and just clearing it out of the space. So while you're sorting, you may need to ask yourself these questions. What do you need now? What do you want to keep? What can you throw away? What can you sell, or what can you donate? And you also want to ask yourself, is there anything that you need to keep that's an old art project or something for your child's portfolio? Whether or not your state requires a portfolio or not, you may want to keep a sampling of your child's work. So what are you going to keep in that way? So as I'm going through everything, those are the questions I'm asking. Once you've gone through everything and you've asked all those questions, go take the trash out. Get some instant gratification. It feels good to clear out the clutter and seeing it disappear. Leave me a comment below if you struggle with organization. What can I help you with? I love to organize. I'm telling you, when I was a child, I didn't just play with my Barbies. In fact, I rarely played with them. I organized all their things. I'm not even joking. It was so fun for me to just lay out all my Barbies and organize how many skirts did they have and how many shirts did they have. I literally did this as a child, so this is my jam. Step number 2, categorize. So you may have already started this as you're making your piles, but you need to categorize For example, what do you need for this school year? Now, if you have a small space, you may not be able to keep everything in that space that you need for this school year, so you will need to prioritize. But what are you definitely going to need, and you may need to sort again based on that priority. What do you need first semester versus second semester? Because those are the things that you are going to want to keep close by. If you don't need them for this year, or you don't need them right away, then ask yourself, do they have to stay in this space? Or can they go someplace else? Can you store them in a basement, or in a craft room, or in an office, or in the garage? So then after you have figured out what your needs are for this year and for this space, you may need to sort again. So are you catching a trend here? You sort, and then you sort again, and then you sort again, and we have to keep paring it down. And this might be a process that has to continually happen throughout the school year to keep your space organized. So you have what you need for this school year, but it still just looks like a lot of stuff. So then what? Well, let's sort again. For example, books. You have all the books that you would love to use for this year. How many do you have? Where are you going to put them? And how are you going to store them in a way that is going to make it easy for you to find? So I have all of my books organized by category. I have them organized by American history versus world history, science, and even my science. I have a lot of animal books. So the space that I have it separated by like earth science, human anatomy, and then I have all of my animals in a separate space. Poetry, music, readers, if you have a little one who's learning how to read. Do you have more than one space to store books? So I have a large bookcase in my living room, but I also have a small bookcase upstairs by my girls' room filled with the books they may read before bed, but they're not like necessarily all of the educational books. And then I also have a bookcase in my basement, which is where I have all of my series, chapter books, books that take up a lot of space that maybe my children are only going to take one at a time as they're reading through them anyway. But again, those are more like fiction books. They're not necessarily the history, the science, the Bible, and types of books that we want to reference more frequently. So for my supplies, I have those categorized by art supplies. Now, I don't keep my art supplies in a place where it's very visible for my children because I don't want them grabbing paint constantly. My daughters already get into paint all the time, and as soon as I clean the house, they think,
there's my blank canvas for me to just get out all the stuff and all the art stuff that I never pick up, but Mom will do it for me.
So anyway, I store my art supplies in a different place. My science experiments, things are categorized. If I need certain things for science, like a magnifying glass or beakers or little droppers, those types of supplies are going to be categorized together. Math manipulatives, anything having to do with geography, toddler activities, if you have a little one that you need special school activities for. So I guess you can say that after I have like my supplies in one big pile or grouping, then I sort my supplies by subject. So there's some supplies that aren't subject specific, right? Like crayons, pencils, those types of things. Those would be like general. But if the supplies have a specific link to a specific subject, then it is becoming its own category. I even have my board games sorted. The board games that we use on a more frequent basis as part of our Fun Friday, I will link that down below when I have my Fun Friday video. But the games that we typically start our Fun Fridays with are a little bit more strategic, require a little more critical thinking, so a little more educational in my opinion. Those games are in closer proximity to our space than all of our other games like Candyland or Twister or Mousetrap. Skip Bow, strategy, Rubik's Cube is a good one, strategy and math. Mastermind, that is a great one. Step number 3, create zones. So you may have already thought through this as you were categorizing. See how that works? You're already learning. Maybe you don't think about this, but you already have zones in your house. So think about it. Where are all of your kitchen things stored? In the kitchen. But even within your kitchen, you have a zone for food. You have a zone for your dishes. You have a zone for your appliances. So these are just spaces where you're grouping your like things together and you're storing them in a common space. So for my dining room zones, I also have to think about access. Okay, so how think about things that you need on a daily basis versus you just need access to every once in a while. The things that I need on a daily basis, I like to have out. I like to have, those are the things that are kind of out. The things that I don't use on a daily basis are things that go in drawers or go behind the doors, and they might be tucked away a little bit lower. Things that you don't even need maybe for weeks. Maybe you're doing a unit study and you have future unit studies, but you're not going to get to them for months. Hide them. I even have a separate zone for those types of things. It's curriculum that I may or may not get to this year. I have the space up here to keep them, but it is not housed with our current curriculum. It's actually in a completely different zone. And I also have to think, how easy is it going to be for my children to put it away? So I'm going to walk you through the zones that I have in my space. The bulletin board zone. Is that a zone? I don't know. The doggy zone is over there. That's her spot. I had to move the chair because she's scratching it up on the windows. Okay, so this zone, this really doesn't house a lot of stuff that we actually need for school. It's where I house extra coloring books and things that we might grab if we're traveling. Just quick things, including extra markers and a travel journal and just extra stuff that we need there. Really extra supplies, some craft stuff. There's extra pens, extra, except for these do-a-dot markers because these are kind of messy and I do want to keep those put away. This is the pencil sharpening zone. So these are actually pencils that need to be sharpened. That's our pencil sharpener. And then I do throw some extra dry erase things here just for quick access, and our candle lighter. So our abacus is down here simply because it doesn't fit in this cabinet. So this is my math cabinet. It's very difficult for me to remember what math manipulatives I have. So I grouped them all together into my math zone, although there is my paper tray is also there. So my spare paper, that scrap paper that I told you about earlier, this is where when my little girls want to draw something, this is the paper they can draw. This is the paper they will grab. Otherwise, they will get the printer paper, but this is fine. And then and they can draw to their heart's content. There's a few scraps of this colored paper up here, but we don't really use a whole lot of construction paper. And then tracing paper is also there. So paper that they can grab anytime they want. This is not necessarily for school use except for the tracing paper. There's other colored paper there. But otherwise, it's all math stuff. My clock, my dominoes, my Math UC manipulatives. These are like pattern blocks. I forget what you call these. Unifex things. Cuisinart rods. These are math games in here. Geometry things. Math games. Also my whiteboards, my portable whiteboards are stored here. So those are the only non-math things, although honestly, we use them a lot for math. If I'm explaining a concept, I might not use that whiteboard. I'm usually sometimes sitting in a different room with my kids using these. Fraction, little games, these little tens unit things are currently being used almost daily, so they are out. And then these are like place value. I don't know if you can see in there without me pulling the whole thing out. Little place value discs, 1s and 10s, all the way up to 1,000,000. My weighing scale when we do those units. These are flashcards, multiplication flashcards, addition. And then in there is going to be some dice and some play money. This is like for a review game. And then more games and like a deck of cards and these multiplication maps, just little stuff like that. And these buttons, I've used these to group and explain math concepts. Plus, my younger daughter loves to just play with these and make designs on the floor. So, score! This container is from Dollar Tree, and the buttons are from Dollar Tree. And then this cabinet I consider like my language arts cabinet. Maybe I still call it toddler activities, but my younger one, if she needs to stay busy, it's kind of my language arts, and that's what I call it, but there are other things in here. This is the zone for curriculum that we're going to use soon, but maybe not right away. So it's got my other gather round units in it, more books that my first grader needs with her curriculum, but we're not to them yet. And this is my Good and the Beautiful Marine Biology. So we are going to use it this year, but we're not using it soon. So it's tucked away. Stickers. These are kind of the busy activities. If my younger one needs to be quiet. This is obviously a language arts game. My spelling activity cards. This is just like marbles for a game, or if we want to keep track of rewards or something. this pattern play block game. There's different patterns and they have to figure out how to make the puzzle pieces work to make those patterns. And then I have all these awesome geography puzzles I picked up at a garage sale. Actually has most of the shapes of the countries and then they have to put them back. Really, really awesome. So that's my little geography zone. These are language arts activities. So this salt I just kind of reused. You can throw it in a baking sheet so they can practice their spelling words, kind of a sensory activity with their hand, or practicing cursive letters. There's story cubes in there, bananagrams. This is great for the actual game, but also it just has letter tiles, so a fun way to practice spelling or some sort of phonics activity practice, and sight words cards, and there's also clay down there, which we've also used to practice spelling words because spelling is the thing in our house. And then this just is a basket I just recently gave them. It actually used to house more of this type of stuff, but I got rid of stuff and I had an empty basket, so I gave it to them to store their extra junk in. Over here is what I would call the teacher zone. I'm gonna move this chair. These are my teacher's manuals and things that I'm kind of direct on, clipboards, dry erase pockets. There's some extra page protectors over here. These are extra supplies. They are labeled so my children could get them, but for the most part, they tell me what they need and I will go get it for them. These are daily math drills and daily writing things, and down here is even just magazines if we want to practice spelling words by cutting out letters. Just things that are ready to be on hand, but we don't necessarily use them every day. This is kind of what I call some more language arts. It's really like my classical conversations essentials binder, all the classical conversations grammar charts that they heavily use. And then I have a bunch of blank charts here for copying and practicing. So this is kind of our essentials little area with our dictionary. And then the seasonal type activities, like when we are ready to do, when it's December, I have some things planned there. So I have that. And then this holds all those other printouts, like first day of school printouts, Christmas printouts, Thanksgiving type stuff. Here's an example of what I have for nature walks printed out from Pinterest. Pinterest is a great resource for all of these free printouts. And then down here, these tubs are science experiment zone. So in all of these boxes are science experiments that I have collected because my children did say this year science experiments was really one thing that they really wanted to do more of. So I collected a bunch, and we have a Tinker Crate subscription, so I have gotten some of those tucked away. Like this one just came. I said, we're saving that. That's a bottle rocket. And we did this butterfly garden a few years ago, our very first year of homeschooling, and they really want to do it again. So I've got the net. We'll see if I actually buy the caterpillars. And we're actually using this one right now. This Crayola color chemistry thing is actually kind of cool, and there's lots of different, it's kind of like science and art. I got it at Walmart. It is for when we want to go someplace. So last time we did school outside, I took this and I had my daughter's flashcards in here. This just needs to be put away. We used these. They needed some markers. So this thing, I don't know what you call it, like a picnic caddy, was very, very handy for just taking outside to our outdoor table and making sure we had a bunch of the smaller supplies that we needed. All right, so this is our daily curriculum zone, I guess. These four are my sons. This white one is my first graders and her handwriting, and then these two are my fifth graders. So they aren't labeled, but we know, oh, this is gather round, so one of them is labeled. But we know whose is who, but this is the things that they can pull out daily, which is very, very helpful. They pull out this, take it to the table or take it to wherever space they are using it, and then they can put it back when they're done. This part of the cabinet is our art zone. I showed you one of the boxes in here. There's extra paints over here. These are more like pipe cleaners and art supplies, and in the back here, sorry from the sun. In the back there are some canvases, 8x8 canvases. We are going to try to do some pour paint project. And then this is again more paint. I have a lot of paint because if we do those pour projects, P-O-U-R, pour, there's tempera paint and acrylic paint, and I have a ton of paint in here. because those poor projects require a lot of paint. Plus, when we were quarantined, we bought a lot of art supplies because we kept entertaining ourselves with painting. These are binders that my kids might store some of their things in right now. So they're not daily use, so they're tucked lower. And then we only do Institute for Excellence in Writing and our grammar notebooks. We only do that once a week, so that's down here. And this is Fix-It grammar stuff that isn't in use right now. This basket houses puzzles. This bin is my rewards. We haven't quite figured out the rewards yet, but I have prizes for when we do. And they're in that box. And then these magazine files are extra paper. So these are extra notebook paper here, if they need them for their binders. And then this is extra colored paper. If there's this is actually like cardstock colored paper. And then some extra page protectors there for their binders if we need them. And then this is my planner stuff. So if I get in the mood to decorate my planner, these are my washi tape and my planner and planner stickers. So I just have that tucked away because I don't do that very often. And then when they do their artwork, so this is, I guess, what you would call the bulletin board zone. So we do have a place to display artwork and anything for school in this little hallway. And then their artwork right now from summer still. I also did a more high-level video of homeschool because we don't just homeschool in this room that I'm showing you. We homeschool in a lot of places. So I will link that video down below so you can see all the places where we homeschool, all the zones. So I have dining room zones. In my basement, I have more zones in my basement. So if you've been homeschooling for a while, you will start to accumulate some things. Some things because you may want to reuse it later. Some things because you're required to keep it. Some things because you just haven't found the courage to throw it away yet. So in my basement, that is where I have this file cabinet where I hold my portfolio stuff, all the little pieces of memories and work that my children did. I keep that. I keep our curriculum, some of our curriculum that we may use again. So we have done classical conversations for several years, and they go through 3 cycles and then they repeat again. So I store all of my cycle memory work there so that whenever we get to the next year's cycle, I put the current year's cycle away and then I go grab my stuff from the other year's cycle. And then I have a place in a bookcase down there, the same bookcase that holds all my really large series readers. I hold my other curriculum that I'm not currently using this year. And then I have an actual office space in my basement, and that's where I house any office supplies that I'm not using in this room. So I have a printer down there, so my printer paper, I have staplers down there, extra page protectors, extra binders, cardstock that I may need for printing, extra colored paper. I don't try to keep a whole lot of paper up here, so most of the extra paper is stored in that office space. And then if I have extra supplies, because they've accumulated somehow, if I have 50 glue sticks, I'm not going to keep 50 glue sticks in this room. I'm going to figure out what we need for this year, and then the rest is going to be stored into that office space. In my living room, I have book zones. Let me show you that. So our bookcase with the categories of books that I showed you. I have a book basket for our library books. Those are books that specifically go with the unit we're doing. Our morning sled, not a morning basket. And then I have a crate tucked away for our Fun Friday activities. It has math games and learning type activities. I have my game closet zone. I have my electronics zone. And then I have kind of what I call my audio zone, which is where I house CDs, some of my Story of the World audio books, any place where they can listen, put on headphones quietly. It's kind of stored in this little basket here. Step number 4. After you have done all the sorting, you figured out all of your zones, then you can figure out what containers do I need. You may want to reuse things that you already have if you are a DIYer. I have used cardboard boxes before, or shoe boxes, and put cute paper on them. I've seen ideas on Pinterest where they used the cute duct tape or fabric and put on the outside of boxes. So you could totally DIY your containers so that it has a pleasing look to it. If you have a nice budget, then you can really think about what your needs are and buy exactly what you need for that space. You may have cabinets, but in my opinion, unless everything that you're organizing is big, cabinets aren't enough. You're going to need containers to organize the smaller items within those cabinets so that they don't get lost or shoved to the back. So for example, if I have a very, very deep cabinet, I am not going to want to cram it with a bunch of little things where things are going to get hidden in the back, or I have to pull out all this stuff every time I want to get to that one thing in the back. That is not a good system. So if I have a lot of little things to organize, I'm going to buy a container for those little things, those little things, categorized, grouped things, so that I can pull that container out like it's a drawer and then access the things in the back. So I'm always thinking about, what do I need access to? How can I store it? All kinds of paintbrushes and just, art supplies. Paint, art supplies. And then I don't want them to just pull out whenever they want. Whenever I'm organizing, when I had referenced that I make piles and I empty everything. And then as I'm emptying them, any storage containers that I had previously been using kind of also becomes its own pile. Because once I am figuring out what containers I need, I will go to that space. If I can't afford to buy what I need, or maybe that space has what I need that's aesthetically pleasing to me, so I do want to reuse it, I have one space where I keep all of my organizational containers when they're not in use. Because also throughout the year, things come up, like I mentioned, I need to redo some of my kitchen pantry. Maybe I don't want to go buy a new bin. I just need a quick bin to throw all these Jell-O boxes in. So then I will go to my space that houses all of my little organizational containers that I store in my storage room to find the little organizational thing that I need. Occasionally, I do have a budget where I can go buy some new pretty things. That's what I did this year in this room. I didn't have a huge budget, so I ended up buying things that I know aren't gonna last very long, but at least it's all kind of uniform in color. If you can go shopping, I'm gonna let you know my favorite places to shop. When I am shopping for organizational containers specifically, I have a strict pecking order, and I always go to this one place first. Okay, so again, as you're thinking about what containers you need, think access. Think children. How easily are they going to be able to grab it? And how easily can it be put back away? These magazine files, this is where we are housing all of our current curriculum. All of their books are held. They can easily grab them, and they can grab the whole container and put it on the table, work on their stuff for the day, put it back, and then put it back over here when it's done. It is very easy for them to access. Same thing for this container that's housing the pencils and the colored pencils and the markers. It sits in the middle of the table, so anytime one of their lessons calls for coloring or they need a new pencil, very easy for them to grab. Fairly organized most of the time, fairly easy for them to put it away. But if there's rulers and pens and stuff and I say, I need you guys to pick it up, they can easily put it away. So I mentioned DIY boxes. I have also used a shoe bag organizer on the back of a door to help house some of my extra little supplies. That worked out really well in my craft room one time. Small bins from the Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree has some very colorful, very cute bins. I don't know how long they're really gonna last, but for small organization, that's a great place to go. IKEA. That is where I got all of my magazine files, and a lot of these boxes that are in my cabinets, they are like cardboard fold-up boxes from IKEA. They're not going to last forever, but for now they are aesthetically pleasing. I want to say the magazine files, I got 2 for $5, so you're not going to find magazine files that cheap anywhere. If it's going to be visible, I highly recommend that it look uniform. Maybe that's just me. For me, it's less stressful for my already cluttered mind. Favorite place to shop for the cute organization stuff is TJ Maxx or HomeGoods. They deliver every single time, and it's high quality stuff at a lower price. Department store quality, but lower price. It's good stuff. It's actually the #1 place I shop for pretty much everything. Shoes, clothes, kid stuff, purses. I've even bought jewelry there. I love that store. So if you're on a budget and you can't just go out and buy whatever you need, have a vision in your mind what you would like your space to look like, and just do a little bit at a time, and just add your little filler pieces, things you already have, until you are able to go out and make your dream come true. One thing that I do want to mention about HomeGoods and TJ Maxx, if you've never been there, it is not like a Walmart or a Target or any of those types of stores. It's not necessarily going to be the same stuff every single time. They get new inventory constantly, and you may see it there one day and it may be gone the next day and you'll never see it again. Many times, like if I'm looking for, say, a group of 3, I go to one store, and what if they only have 2? they can usually find it in another store close by. They're not necessarily going to get in more of that thing. So if you're looking for multiples of something, you may have to travel to different stores if they can't ship it in for you. Tip number 5, label. Now, I don't label everything. Document. So if you don't label, document where your stuff is. I don't need to do that anymore. I have labeled those little drawers that I showed you because that's a new piece for me, and I don't really remember exactly what all is in there, so those are labeled. But my other zones that I've had, it's been working for me for years. So I don't really need to label things. Even these magazine files, the way I have them arranged, my youngest one, right there, she's the white one. My middle child is the black over here, and then my son is all of this. So they're not labeled, but I know whose is whose. Like I said, we've been up in this dining room doing this for a couple years, so we are used to where everything goes. Finally, no need for labels. But when I first came up here and started organizing all the things, I could not remember where I put things. So I did write them down, the things that I knew I needed to access. I at least wrote it down if I didn't label the boxes. So the bonus tip for you, unfortunately, I actually kind of alluded to this already. This is going to be a continuous process. I started this room out this year very organized, and I'm already tweaking it after about 6 weeks. I'm already tweaking it a little bit, but you will probably need to train your family. That's the thing. It's like you organize it, it's such a beautiful space, but if you want help getting people to put it away, you're going to have to explain to them how the process is. You're going to have to nag them for a while.
Nag, train. Maybe training is a better way to put that.
But Charlotte Mason said that it takes 6 weeks to develop new habits, especially in children. You may just need to practice. Okay, this is what we're doing every day. This is where all the things go. You're in charge of cleaning this up or this up. But let's all be in this together, because we certainly, as moms, we have so much on our plate. We don't need to be the only person who knows where things are. I know sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes people don't even really try. They don't even look. But let's train our families so that they know how to keep this place organized. So don't forget to leave me a comment below. What are your pain points with organizations? Or if you're a guru, what did I miss? What are some great tips that you can share with us all so we can all learn from you? This is part 2 in my organization series. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest, and make sure you hit the bell so that you're notified when I have my next video go up. If this was helpful to you, give me a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. It tells YouTube that I'm doing a good job. It really does. They pay attention to the thumbs up. And share this video. If you know anybody else struggling with organization, you know a new homeschooling mom, please share this video. I am doing this because I want to reach out to the broader homeschool community, and I want to be an encouragement, and I also want to learn. And I like interacting with you all. So thank you so much for helping me in this very, very small way. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.